Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Monday, September the 9th, 2024. I'd like to call to order this special session. And at this time, before I read the executive session, I'll need a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So moved. Second.
The City Council, City of Lampasas, Texas will meet in closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code 551 as follows. Section 551074, Personnel Matters, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties of the city manager and other personnel matters as allowed by Texas Government Code Chapter 551. And at this time, we will adjourn into executive session. So if we can get a motion.
So moved.
Second. Can I get a second?
Davis.
Okay, I didn't hear.
Y'all just remember to talk and share my screen. It's very helpful. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, we'll call our workshop session to order. First item on the agenda is discussion regarding the rodeo arena fence and gate.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. This item, give you a little bit of background. When we were working through the rodeo agreement, there was a couple different things that the Rodeo Association talked about. We actually met on site probably late spring, early summer as we were working through the agreement. And one of the things that was brought up was what's being brought up tonight, which is controlled access down to the rodeo arena, protecting from vehicles coming in there, whether it's rainy or just to, drive and do whatever, as far as incurring maintenance on the facility and the stuff that they're trying to maintain back there as far as the sand and some of the materials they brought in. The critical thing, and I think what they're looking at is protecting not only their labor and their expense, but looking at how they do that aesthetically, probably cost-based as far as reduced cost. The Rodeo Association is looking at doing, obviously, the labor, getting the material, putting it together down there. It will be similar to what's there now, so around the trees, the large butter blocks, kind of limestone blocks, kind of to match, and it would be along the edge of that drive aisle that comes from the shop. If y'all are familiar with where the shop sits, you go kind of by the group of trees where you can see down into the rodeo arena, and it would be along that top, and then as you get down there to the actual base road that goes back in there, a metal gate that can be locked and when it's not in use, but still allowing people obviously to walk through there, ride bikes or whatever, but it keeps vehicles. I think the goal is keeping vehicles out of that back area. And I think I think what they're looking at as far as from the city or for council to discuss is the assistance with just the purchase of the materials. I think as you get further in, or at least there's an item on here at the end and on the regular agenda. But basically what they're asking for is no more than $10,000 or not to exceed $10,000 for materials, and they would do the installation. So I'll stand.
Hey, Ryan, is there an overlay on kind of where the rodeo arena is? And
there is. There's an exhibit that we attached to the agreement, and it basically shows the area, but it does come basically up that slope, and it's mainly that arena area is what the lease agreement covered. So not the parking off to the northwest, not that area, but as you come into the rodeo arena, it's that upper area back behind the arena, basically to the tree line.
Becky, is there any way you could pull up an aerial from Google? A map? You can't produce it. You can't. We don't have that over.
Yeah, there's no exhibit in there that shows what the leaf showed.
So you said the road from the maintenance shop down
Yeah, there's a
road there.
there's a slope that comes down there, so protecting the top of that slope and controlling access from that point right behind the shop as you go down, you know, till you get basically to the bottom down there with
And
the
the
fence.
problem is they're going into the rodeo arena itself, right? That's
Correct.
you're
Well,
not-
it's the back area that's prepped behind where the I guess the entrance is for the actual horses, you know, at the gates there where they come in. It's that back area protecting that. I think the fence is actually, I think it's actually locked up now, the actual arena. Yeah, it's not the,
So where is this money coming from?
if council sees fit, talking with Yvonne, it would be most likely out of the 2016 CO that was dedicated for the rodeo arena, or that has money in there for the rodeo arena. I think there's about $38,000 that remains.
And you are looking at one or two gates? Just one?
For y'all that have been out there, it runs a ridge right along the top, slopes down into some drainage. If you follow that ridge line around, it'll go to the tin horn that we have put in there for the base drive in there. I'm thinking enough gate to open up to where it open up wide for trailers to even pass and go through. And then from the other side of where that gate would be, we'd lay some more blocks over to the stock tank that's there. You know, obviously traffic going down there when it's raining, driving around, they drive around the backside that is prepped with sand now from the back of the arena to the back slope of that area. They'll drive through it, which is a problem. But then when they turn and go all the way around the arena, then they drive through the drainage. So they keep driving through the drainage, well, then it doesn't drain. So we got to put that back. And they'll drive up and down that steep slope at any given spot in through there. Well, just all kinds of people. I mean, there's kids going through there. There's adults. I mean, a lot of people drive through there, and when it's pouring down rain, it's not the best time to go through there.
So what you're saying, Mr. Harrison, that's creating a maintenance issue for the rodeo arena, is that correct?
It is that, for sure.
Is it only when it's raining, or is it when it's,
Well, no, like I took a mother and daughter out there for them to ride the other morning to open up the arena for them. They have their horse trailer parked at the very backside over here, and they're saddling their horses, and a man drives through in a pickup exercising his dog. Right in between the fence and them while they're sitting there saddling horses, running a dog through there.
let me ask you one other question. Is, when you have an event out there, the gates are obviously gonna be open.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? But, I mean, more than likely, you're not gonna be having an event when it's raining. What's gonna keep the maintenance issues during that particular time versus when it's open all the time?
Well, you couldn't drive a vehicle down through there.
Okay,
I mean,
all right, and that's what I'm asking.
That's the simple to it.
Okay.
Chris, are you wanting to essentially make one entrance, one exit down there? Is that
That's all there is right now, technically.
technically?
Yeah, if you have a four-wheel drive truck, you can make an exit and an entrance
Yeah.
wherever you want to.
Well, I was just looking at near the shop.
It's not really all the way to the shop, so where the transformer and the cistern is right now, that's where that side slope really starts right
Okay.
there.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. So you would come in by the shop, across the top of the ridge, and then hang a left
Right.
to go down.
And technically,
Got it.
you know, we all come in from the entrance on the far west and drive in, not by the maintenance shop, but through the other way.
Chris, could you give a little bit of update on some of the happenings going on out there right now and how much you're getting booked up?
Prepared.
Man, Alexis.
I'll let her do it, so I don't have to put these glasses.
Hey, Councilman, how are y'all? And women, how are y'all? So far since we've taken over the arena, we've had a total of 52.5 hours used out of the arena, whether it's public or event. So public-wise, we've had 37.5 hours of people going out there. They generally are an hour to 2 hours, so maybe 3. Events so far is 15 hours. We've had 3 events since we've taken over, with now 2 of sets of them Three, 1, 2, 3.
Right, I can't, that number's.
Okay. So I may be off on one number, but we have now are starting to have people go from, we have a barrel race every 2 times a month, and even if not more, and then,
That's good for the rest of the year, isn't it?
yes, that's booked for the rest of the year, and they're getting us their 2025 by next month. So I'll have that in line on top of whatever we get with the team roping as well. That's anywhere from once to twice a month. So we're having a lot of action down at the arena, including the public use. Public use, we're having no issues. They call us, we let them know, we drag, they're good to go, they're happy, no complaints. So it's been really good.
That fella out of Atlanta, what's his name?
Tyler Magnus.
Has he come over from?
Yes, he did. We had a short run because it was supposed to be on a Saturday, but a real keen rodeo family, their son had passed away, so we had to cancel it, and they did it on a Wednesday, and we had about 75 teams out there, which was really good for a short notice since we put it out on Monday. So even that, they're working on getting their fall schedule to us tomorrow, hopefully. So I've been on their butt about it.
Just in a few months, basically everything y'all proposed a couple months ago, y'all got it rolling.
Correct.
It's happening.
And with more, we are getting steer wrestlings, calf ropings, like they're bombarding us with ways, and we're trying to fit it all accordingly and still make sure that the public still has appropriate use that we promised in the beginning.
And all this is just protecting the asset.
One of the deals, and I'll cut her off real quick, but it got to the point, especially between the team roping, we had this bull riding event that was this Saturday, but with the barrel racing and the team roping, just those by themselves, they're coming in so much that we're actually bought our own tractor to go with the new drag that we bought, because it's not really fair to these guys. That Heston McBride's one of them. Garrett and Ozzy let us use his drag till our drag got in, but it's a little bit too much now for us to borrow wear and tear on somebody's equipment. But it is. I mean, I go down. Heston or I or her husband John will all go down and drag, sometimes in the middle of the day, middle of the night, weekend, whatever, to make it ready. But
When you get these big ruts, and I'm kind of going back to the maintenance issue for the fence, when you get these big ruts going around the back, does the city provide anything to come around and help you guys smooth that out, straighten it out?
that's on us to fix it.
So you guys are taking care of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much time are you spending doing that?
A bunch.
Yeah, it's too much.
And the drainage, the whole drainage deal needs to be reworked right now. But I mean, it's typical for what's been happening. I mean, until we put something up, it'll get driven through. It's just.
What do you think material cost is for putting up that barricade?
When I looked at that originally, I think to buy the blocks and get them here, I want to say was around $7,800, something like that. When I talked to, of course, the mayor and Ryan last week, I said, not to exceed 10,000, because I'm guessing. I think that was back in April, May when we priced that.
So what you're asking for is a turnkey type deal, fence and everything, do some of the maintenance or the installation on the fence?
Yeah, well, we'll put the blocks out and then I can fabricate it, not a problem.
So
It's just a materials, like I said, we're writing some pretty hefty checks right now on some other stuff that, I figured this would be a good time to hit it up anyway.
Do you anticipate this being a permanent fence or just temporary in your mind right now? It sounds like you guys got a lot of things going on. Just taking
So
ownership.
originally I wanted to build a pipe fence. I thought a 2-rail pipe fence would be real nice. I'd call that more permanent, and after talking to the parks guys, Stephen and Nick that work out there, and I think Iker was involved with that. It's when we kind of moved to go into these butter blocks. They're 2x2 by 5 foot blocks. We went that direction because, yeah, they're permanent per se, because once we set them there, we used them at the golf course. We've used them out there at that park as well to go around some oak trees around the septic system. So it's permanent, but it's not. I mean, if anything ever went to move, they're pretty easy to pick back up, with the right equipment and move them. So it's not something that can't be undone, I guess, if that makes sense.
I'm looking at the more you guys are almost getting a lot more eyeballs on our rodeo arena than we've we've had in years past. So, which is a great thing. So, if we're going to do this, should we just do it right?
Well, I think this is right. I think this is right because it goes with what's out there. It lays that. Hell, I made that slope originally. That thing's. We're not going to go any further, out by any means with what it takes. I think this is, a good combination of we're watching what we're spending, but it is a right way to do it. And I think it'll look good. It'll go with what's going on out at the park right now.
Yeah, and those blocks are about 2,000 pounds apiece. Yeah.
And when we talked with that Nick's and Steven's main deal was to make sure they could get like a golf cart through them or something like that. So we're just trying to cut off the vehicle traffic.
So if you can get a golf cart through, then you can get a gator or a 4x4 that.
Well, no, that golf carts are. I think that little one they're picking up trash on is pretty small.
Yeah.
I don't think I could get my Ranger through it.
Okay.
So.
At the end of the day, it's safety for all those, even the public going out there, because we open it and let them have their time, and then we leave, and we can't control those that come in and try to tear up those horses or temperamental, some of them.
And this fence, it's not gonna affect the bike trails or anything like that?
It shouldn't.
Okay, so people will still be able to get.
Yeah, as long as the way we're setting those blocks, they'll be able to ride right through it, so it
Okay.
shouldn't cause any problem whatsoever.
Do you think we need an overlay, council? I'd like to see an overlay council.
As long as it doesn't interrupt with the bike trails.
You don't want to rock right in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's my only concern is not putting a block right on a trail that, that's platted or whatever.
I think they come up from the east side of that, the shop, don't they? Isn't that where
I
the
don't know where that one trail starts.
The entrance is to the east. But yeah, this shouldn't impact any of the trails. And even if somebody wants to connect to a trail further back down in there, they'll still have the ability to do that because you can drive it from the block, so it shouldn't impact the trail.
Any other questions, Mr. Harrison?
Ryan, what did you say is in that 2016 CO fund?
38,000 approximately.
Chris, do you foresee any other expenses that we're gonna be needing that CO fund for in the near future?
Not right now. This is really the main deal. We're going to try to work on moving some electrical and stuff, but we can handle all that.
What about storing a tractor out there?
Do the what?
What about that tractor y'all just bought, storing it?
It's storing at Agrotech. Heston's been gracious enough to let us keep it under lock and key.
Well, now that you brought that up,
I just didn't know if it was gonna be out there.
No, we have it, we haul it in and,
well, man,
So you hold the
Oh,
tractor
my
and drag it? You
What?
hold the tractor and
Yeah.
drag it each time?
might as well.
so, of course, tomorrow we're going to pick up, Randy and I are going to head up to, it's not Lawson anymore anyway, we're going to go to Hamilton, pick up our new tractor and bring it in. We've been using Heston's tractor, we've been storing the drag out there since it came in. Right now, I think we're going to actually get it, and if there's not enough room to store it at Heston's, I'm going to rent a storage building to put it in for right now. One of the things that we wanted to come back at a later point that actually isn't going to cost any money, but we're going to run through the right channels, was to potentially talk about adding a bay to the existing work shed out there that the Parks has on top of the hill. That's a 40 by 60 foot building right now. And one of the things that we're gonna get some numbers for is to look at if we added a 20-foot bay to it, concreted it, left the wall to where it isolates the city's part, and made a 20 by 60 foot deep extra bay that we could potentially store the tractor in there. That way we could just drive right out of there, go right to the arena and park it back up. With the benefit that if, we let the city take this over one day, or we go away, or whatever, at the end of the day, we added another bay to the building. That the city's-
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes
we're no cost.
How's that not gonna cost any money?
Sir,
How's that not gonna cost any money?
it'll cost us money.
Okay.
I mean, but it's protecting our investment. We just bought a $95,000 tractor, so I'd like to have it very well undercover. I mean,
And behind
yeah,
When do
absolutely.
you anticipate starting the build? Or
I'm trying to get some numbers on it right now. I'd rather have numbers to where I know what I'm talking about before I actually, it's kind of short notice and the bomb goes down. So, but I'll get more together on that and see what our options are, because I know, we even thought about putting like a temporary, down in the, down in the bottom over there, but then it takes up real estate. It is safer up there on top of the hill. It's lit, I think there's already cameras up there around that shed anyway. It's just a safer deal. And then it keeps us from dragging that thing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
makes sense to me.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Thank you. Next item up, discussion regarding Western Street Culvert Project.
Mayor, council. This particular project, in your packet, you'll find basically the 5 bidders, the documents from the actual bidder it's actually, let me see, I don't want to get this wrong, KRPS Contractors LLC. So out of the 5 bidders, this project came in at $338,000. To give you a little bit of background on this project, this is one that about a year, maybe a little bit over, it was brought to our attention that this culvert was in pretty rough shape. You'll see some photos in there. And so when I looked at it, realizing kind of the shape that it is in, it's all stacked block retaining wall with a poured concrete deck on top that was failing. And the retaining walls underneath the road have been undercut over time just from the water. And so working with our local engineer, Eckerman Engineering, had him come look at it, and immediately, we were both on the same page. Hey, we need to go ahead and address this as soon as possible. So we had gone out, done the design, actually did the bid opening a couple of weeks ago, and I think the week after the bid opening, so weekend before, when we had all that rain, basically half of that wall fell in. You can kind of see it in the pictures. There's really not much holding that side, so if a big truck or something was to drive over it, we've got the road closed now. It could teeter enough that slab's just up there. I mean, it's amazing that it's still there. The daylight you see is the roadway, so that's Western right there, both sides. And all the rubble that's in there was the old rock wall that held that bridge deck up, or culvert deck. This particular project, what we did is we went out, we had an ad alternate bid in there. The main base bid was for a concrete culvert to be poured in place by the contractor with the alternative precast. So precast helps speed up the project. They come in, set them with a crane. And so we gave them both options. This particular contractor, his base bid was lower than the alternate bid, and that's the one staff would recommend going with. One thing that I did reach out to the engineer if he could talk with the bidder that was the low bidder on time frame. Right now, with that road being closed, it's been closed for a little over a week. I think time is kind of the essence, so he did reach out to them. If they can get their performance bonds to us, some other documentation that we'll need before we can release the notice to proceed, we should be ahead of the curve, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. They could be here on the ground. So fingers crossed, they get everything to us with council's approval to move this project ahead.
And how long will it take them to complete it? It's gonna be 2 to 3 weeks before they get here.
So this type of project, you're gonna be, that's a good question. You're gonna be cleaning the draw out both directions away from that culvert, reshaping that, then demoing out what's there, which a lot of it, as you can see from the pictures, just kind of demoed itself out. but they will break that deck into pieces, remove that, clean it up, start pouring some riprap around the structure. I mean, a project like this, I really feel like, weather permitting, you know, probably 3 or 4 months is probably realistic, you know, maybe sooner. A lot. Yeah, we have 60 calendar days. Okay, sorry. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but if it's 60 calendar days with them, and obviously we'll give them weather days if we have rain. One of the things that could delay it is if we have rain and they're forming down in the bottom of the channel, you know, it could delay some things. You gotta go back in there, clean the rebar off before you can pour. So.
Any thought to have our street department do like the first 7 line items of the bid and removal of the existing asphalt, and removal of the concrete, clean all that up and prep it for the contractor to come in, save $40,000?
We did actually talk about that internally. You know, I think when you're doing this type of project, there's some things that can go wrong. Not that they will, but there's the opportunity for liability as you're demoing the slab and not impacting, you know, the property around it. You know, the guys that do this all the time with this will take the deck down most likely with a ram hoe where they sit there and kind of basically jackhammer the top. You know, a couple of those things, my preference is typically to put that liability back on the contractor on something like this. Could we have done it? I mean, we have equipment and we have the staff to do it. From my standpoint, it's more of a liability, you know, issue when you don't demo things like that, how you take it down, you know, the process with that. So.
I mean, we're gonna wait a week, right? We're gonna wait at least a week before this can get started. We can have this demo cleaned up and ready to go in a week, can we?
Maybe. I see the liability, I see what you're talking about, the liability, because some, like this could be a job a little bit out of our scope. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. With the staff we have now and what they're trained to do in this type of a project, I feel like you're opening up some liability to the city if we were to do this, and even the demo in-house.
I'm having a tough time following you on the liability. It's dirt, it's concrete, busted up concrete and dirt. You know, if there was power lines, if there was fiber, if there were gas lines, any of that stuff, sure, but this is just concrete and dirt. And we can save 40,000, give our guys the experience. That's my thought.
I think the other thing maybe as a consideration is that you're going to tie up your entire street workforce on this site. So we won't be able to shag trees, we won't be able to take care of our day in and day out work as well. So that may be another consideration to keep in mind.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up, discussion regarding draft food truck ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item was placed on the agenda just to kind of recap where we were at the last meeting. I just kind of wanted to get some fillers and find out exactly what we want to do going forward. So a few of the things that we had talked about was having no day rate or weekend rate. So I wanted to make sure we're still okay with that, leaving the rates as they were. Being permitted in residential zoning districts with specific use permit, I kind of want to touch on that a little bit, if we were going to do this in-house as far as staff, or if we wanted to do this through our planning commission. Right now, currently in our land use, with our zoning, we do take the specific use permits to the planning commission for review, and then to council for final approval by ordinance. There is a $200 application fee, we do certified letters, review notices, so it is quite labor intensive if we go that route, which is fine. Or we can do something more minimal, just in staff, in-house, just something that we notify the neighbors. We put out some notices as far as the request for the specific use permit for the food truck to set up at some location, just so that the citizens of the community are aware. Either way, I'm fine with. I just kind of wanted your feedback of what the direction is you want me to go.
What would the permit cost again?
The permits were $100 for your seasonal, and then it goes to 300 to 600.
You said 100 for seasonal, is that what you said?
Basically, it's called the seasonal. What I do is it's for 14 days, and I let them use that throughout the year how they choose to, and that's $100.
Okay.
And I just kind of take it.
I think it should be higher.
Yeah, I think we should just go to one permit. You either have a permit or you don't. One permit.
That's
Makes your life a whole lot easier. You buy a permit for the year and that's that.
Well,
Whether you're here one time or whether you're here 14 times, you sent over the Austin Public Health and you're reporting to the locations and this and that. I like that idea. I like the idea of one permit. It's easy, it's done. I like the idea of having the fire marshal inspect the trailer to make sure everything's good to go. We could go off the fire department's fee schedule, charge them for hood inspection, and be done with it. Have one permit, it's in, it's out. You don't have to keep track. You don't have to punch the card every time. I'm gonna be here on this day, Becky. I'm gonna be here on this day. The only thing that need to be kept up with would be their locations.
well, that's what they'll have to tell me is where they're going to be. But at the same time, this kind of goes.
And this form is awesome.
It's very detailed, 7-pager.
What do you think that annual cost should be for the permit?
I haven't got that far.
And with that in mind, doing a permit for a year, as far as locations, we kind of touched on that as well. So the vacant lot versus property owner versus permission versus the restroom availability, all that kind of goes hand in hand. So those are the next steps I was going to kind of talk about. So as far as the vacant lot, we kind of talked about owner specific at the time because it was an owner that owned a lot that wanted to put a food truck on his own lot. That's kind of where it stemmed from. So do we want to keep it owner related, or do we want to allow if somebody else owns it, they want to allow somebody else to use it, we get their permission to use that lot. And then the other piece of that is that per the health department, they do have to have access to a bathroom for their employees. So that's kind of
And I don't have a problem with that at all.
I think that we have to keep the bathroom part. I'm sorry, if y'all get rid of the bathroom part, I would not vote for it.
The application from Austin, as I've been through it, they're required, unless you're gonna be at a site for less than 2 hours, they're required to back for the employee.
Right.
I don't really see a food truck gonna come park for 2 hours or less. It's not even worth their time,
correct.
you know?
I think with the lots, it should be the owner.
Owner, if it's a vacant lot.
I think so too.
Okay, so vacant lot, owner owns the food truck.
But the question is, if it's a vacant lot, where's the bathroom?
Have to be in close proximity, so we have to determine.
Yeah, porta potty.
No,
Or
no porta potties,
Porta potty.
absolutely not.
You're saying no porta potties?
No.
No, you have to be able to wash hands.
And how far is that away from the
That'd be reasonable.
well, the
reasonable?
The food truck should come equipped with your hand washing station. They will have their 3-compartment sink, they will have their hand washing. They should be equipped, that's part of the checklist. But the bathroom, I mean, a sanitary restroom is common in most food truck areas or what they're doing festival-wise or what have you. So I mean, it's not outlandish to have a sanitary restroom available if there's not already a restroom available that they can use. Now, if it gets lucky and they put it on a lot where there's a business next door that'll give them permission to use it, I'm okay with that too. But if it is a vacant lot or somewhere where there's not accessible to a restroom or the same hours as the food truck may be open, then we might need to look at having a sanitary restroom. Again, that's an expense on the food truck owner. I mean, that's up to them if they want to, comply with the rules. But I mean, right now, food trucks and the sanitary restrooms have come a long way as far as their establishments. So, I mean, I could go either way, but I just want to be clear that I don't want to
I don't want to hinder anybody. I want to make sure it's available to them, but at the same time, I want to be reasonable with what we're expecting them to be able to provide to us.
Any other questions?
And then say so I get the county owns the square, but it's in the city. There's been a conversation, I believe, with the judge.
Yes, no conversation.
And we should be charging those folks.
Okay, well, that's gonna be my next bullet point we need to kind of touch on. So back to the restrooms, though, I kind of want a consensus. I understand that you're not okay with it, but how does everybody else feel as far as the sanitary restroom as an alternative to make sure they have a restroom?
And when you say sanitary restroom, you're talking porta potty.
Yes.
That is not okay with me.
Well, and I think on those porta potties, there's a criteria, because like you said, they've come a long ways, and there is a type of criteria that you might be able to put out there for somebody to meet, not just a can.
I mean, typically, if they're gonna do it, depending on how we go with this permit, I mean, if they're gonna be set up for, a month, or if they're gonna be set up for 6 months, or if they're gonna do it on the weekends, I mean, they'll probably invest in that sanitary and have it cleaned out and, monitor the way they're supposed to. I mean, that's just gonna be a requirement that will go with the guidelines.
I feel like what this sounds like to me, and it sounds like somebody wants to take their vacant lot, slap some porta potties on it, have food trucks on it, call it all good, but yet you're gonna hurt the brick and mortar businesses, and I don't think that, I think we need to be very careful of that.
Well, and I agree, I think there should be a parameter with the brick and mortar as far as X number of feet or whatever the case may be. But as far as a food court will be a little different than just a food truck. So the way this ordinance is gonna read, or how it does today, I should say, a food truck goes on one lot, period. It's not like we have multiple, and even if we did multiple, it's a max of 3, depending on the lot size, because they have to be able to get in and out. So there's parameters for more than one. But even if we have 3, they would only have to have 1 restroom. So depending on how we look at that can all be
I mean, that's how it sounds like this, that's where it sounds like this is going, and I'm not good with that.
That's not my intention by any means. I do not, I mean, like I said, that would be a food court, and we would handle that separately, and they would have to have enough space and that to be able to maintain that. So this is just 1 food truck, 1 lot.
We have ordinance right now for a food court.
Yes, and that's separate from this one. Yes, sir.
How will we handle spring home food trucks?
Well, that's gonna be my next thing is, back when we met last, is that y'all did not like the organizations to handle their own, as it's been for many, many years. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on what that looked like, because, I mean, for one, it's a fundraising effort for most of them, because if they charge a vendor, they charge a food truck, that's gonna be money for their fundraising that they're doing for that event. That event has already been approved through council for them to have that event.
What's that?
So it kind of falls.
Hold up, just because they're paying to be part of the event, that doesn't have to be with the permit.
Well, when I issue a permit, they pay me, I issue the permit. So if it's not gonna go through the city, are we gonna have a 2-step process to where the permitting goes through the city? I issue the permit, they take that permit to the organization, say they've already gotten my blessing, and then they go through and they pay them to have the vendor permit? Is that kind of?
Probably needs to be the same across the board with everybody.
If you need a permit out there with food truck in the city of Lampasas, you need a permit.
Or could the festival do a special use permit, just like you would do for some neighborhood birthday party?
Still needs the permit.
Still need a permit.
So it's a special use permit for a festival would work the same way as in, I'm gonna have a 15th birthday party and I want a food truck at my house.
You might have to get that special use permit for that specific event, but that food truck will still need to pay the city of Lampasas for that permit.
But the special use permit is being paid by,
Let's separate those two for 1 second. I see where you're going with that, but if we go back to having the city issue a permit and the fee is handled through the city, then the organization is not going to benefit from that food truck or vendor.
Why?
Well, they're not getting the money. So if they,
Why can't the organization say, if you want to set a food truck up during this event, then you pay this organization $75 or $100? That's what I've seen before.
so they pay the organization to have their food truck at this location and they pay the city to have the permit?
Right. Yeah, you gotta be legal with the place that you're trying to do
We have a city
I think
ordinance
that
that
would
says
be
you gotta have a
nice.
permit. That's all. We have a city ordinance that says in order to operate a food truck, you're gonna have a permit, regardless of what function it's for. If we're gonna be straight across the board, let's be straight across the board.
But would your number be the same as far as the permit fee? Wouldn't that be less if it's a,
I don't think the permit needs to be very expensive.
because that's what you're gonna run into, especially with spring hoe. And you're gonna, if you charge too much, then you're gonna limit how many are coming to this event.
And some may never come back to us again. I mean, they might come annually for spring hoe, but if I do an annual permit for them, and let's just say it's $500, they may not do it. They may not come at all because
I
it's
think
too
500
expensive.
is way out of line,
What benefit are we getting?
Too much or too low?
too high.
Well, $100 was too low when y'all said for 14 days for a.
Give us $100 to $500.
Well, so
14 days to 12 months is the.
So let me tell y'all, because I've been on Spring Hoe and I was in charge of parks and all that stuff with the vendors. And so what Spring Hoe does with the vendors is that is how they make their money in the park. And I think the food trucks, and this is a while back, but the food trucks paid more than the retail businesses, but the food trucks profited more, so they were willing to pay that. But I think they paid like a couple $100 for the 2 days.
If I had to pay $200 for an annual permit, and I was only paying Lampasas once, I'm not trying to come back again,
No, you're not.
especially if I was successful.
Well,
That's a problem with the annual too. I feel like if you just have that one, so we got a truck that comes in and they're here for 300 days or a whole year, but they pay $200, and you got someone come in and they're here for 2 days and they pay $200. Why? Because
No, I understand.
it's part of the benefit. I mean, the thing is, if we're going to allow this kind of business to come in and give competition to brick and mortars and folks that are investing in the community, I mean, there has to be some skin in the game on them too.
and also too, like with festivals and things like that, I don't think other towns charge a food truck fee, like a permit fee and a festival fee. I think that's kind of like hitting them twice, and those people won't want to come back. So I think that's something to think about.
So even without, outside of Spring Hoe, so just the chamber, another example, with the festivals and the things that they do with the rodeo. And in order for me to be a part of and assist with the organizations and doing the food trucks or vendors, I would have to be a part of those and attend those meetings. And that would be the point of contact for them to reach out to do those food trucks and the vendors. And again, like I said, I don't know that charging them twice is going to be very advantageous for any organization or the city as a whole. So I do think that's something we need to consider. And you're talking Courtyard Square Association, even the Sulphur Creek Car Cruise, they have a few vendors out there. Christians on the Creek, we do the lighting on there's a few vendors out there.
Why would you have to attend their meetings?
To know what's going on and how we're going to promote and how they're going to contact me and be knowing what's going to happen and when I'm going to have to be involved.
How do you have to promote those?
And how they're going to
I think
advertise and
it'd
who they're going to contact for the city, for the known prices and what they can do and the checklist of their food truck. I mean, I'm going to have to be at some point be involved in those
We'll
conversations.
get put on the website.
At some point, the onus was, at some point, the onus was on the owner of the food truck. It's not all on you.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, they have to take some responsibility, and it's not all on you to be at every single meal. And
But that's a huge part of those. So I'm just saying that I would need to be part of it, just the organizing part of it.
Well, the thing is, if you be coming to get a permit from you, if you're gonna go do business in the city, then you need to go talk to that city and figure out how you're gonna do business there. And I mean, if you're operating a business without proper permitting, you get shut down and you get ass served, you get pushed out.
Yeah, they'll know better than to just show up and do business without inquiring, I'm sure. But if they're not and they get caught, then we shut them down and don't do business again.
Why do we need to change the ordinance?
Exactly. Eric, I understand that concept. I have no idea. At least not this detail. There are some things that need to be modified, absolutely. But I did not anticipate this much change being done to this ordinance. I just wanted a little bit of clarity on some areas.
I was just curious where it's stemmed from, why it was brought up in the first place.
And she said it was brought up because somebody with an empty lot wants to stick a food truck on it. So I'm happy with the way the ordinance is, personally.
I mean, I guess do we just need to come some type of consensus on how we're going to do this? So, as far as I can provide y'all something, but we're all kind of all over the place. So I need something to tell me what you want me to do.
I think it should be very easy for somebody to get a permit, first and foremost. The food truck or trailer should be obviously certified by whoever certifies that. It needs to have a TBC if they're going to sell that, health code. It has to have a sales tax permit for the corporation, the sales tax. And they have a fee through our city to operate in our city, and that's it.
That's what I do today. It's very simplistic. It's not a two-pager, and I do a checklist, and I do make sure they have their insurance and their food handlers and their tax. But there's some things in there, like I said, like the vacant lot, the bathrooms, the rates and flags here lately that I wanted to get some clarity on.
Well,
Even the fees and even the organizations. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Well, like right now, like that food truck that we have down, the little Chinese food truck, it's got a permit, but it wasn't legal because it's on grass.
And I don't want to say this, no, it is not where I want it to be, but it has been reviewed and looked at, and it's still in the process of getting more compliant, but it started on paved, and then it went and moved locations, so that's a bad example.
So when it got the permit, it was where it was supposed to be, but then it moved. So
Yes.
then pull the permit.
But
should have checked out.
we're,
Because we need to enforce our ordinance.
yes, and we will, but this is, and I know it's sitting there, and I know it's a bad example, but we are handling that. We're working on that and getting that resolved. But I don't want to focus on that as much as the ordinance itself and what direction you need to go to fix it going forward. So as far as the fee, if you want to put one fee together, I will do one fee.
1 second, and say you don't want to focus on that, but you're just asking a question.
I am addressing the question because I don't have all the answers as far as to pull the permit at this point, because the building official and the fire marshal have reviewed the food truck and the location of it and made sure it was compliant. There has been things that have been brought to the attention of the last week or so that is being looked at and investigated, but I can't speak to that. The building official is not here this evening. So I will be more than happy to follow up, but at this point, I just don't want that to be the reason why we're discussing or changing anything, because I'm not making it compliant. It will be compliant or it will be removed, but I just want direction on how we're going to move forward with food trucks in the future. I just need to know.
I think we had a compelling statement last council meeting too about anything that would take away from our local brick and mortars that pump money back into the community. I mean, like some food variety, but don't want loose cannons running around or folks coming in taking dollars away from our local businesses. I mean, it's a dang good point. Yeah. So it would either need to cost more to do business here, in my opinion, where the community is getting something out of it. Because what is the benefit of a food truck coming in? I mean, what are the benefits there? I'm not saying there aren't benefits, but what are the benefits?
For the city, just something new and different. For the person, is possibly trying to do like a little incubator, trying to see if their product is worthwhile, where they may be able to go to a brick and mortar. Or just something for a festival, that's how they choose to, supplement their income.
Do we have any time limitations on how long that these food trucks can sit there in our permit process?
As long as they have permission and they have access to the bathroom and they have their permit, whether it's 14 days or 6 months or a year, that's what we go by.
Okay.
So just like the one that we're discussing now, it's a 6-month permit.
And I think one of the biggest things that we could do to protect our brick and mortar is just to have a time period, how long that they can sit there in the permit process, which that adds another step and more logistical.
I'm of the opinion that this is a complicated matter, way more complicated than we thought, and we're not ready to do anything on it.
Agree.
And I personally would like to do a little bit more research.
Can we take this up another session, Becky?
Just whenever it comes up as any action item, take no action.
Yeah, there's no action item.
Okay, thank you. Number 5, discussion regarding advisory board term renewals and vacancies.
So on this item, I just wanted to kind of bring y'all up to speed on where we are with applications. If you turn to page 48 in the packet, you will see that I have a table created in here to kind of show you. So the ones that are in red are the ones that have submitted an application for reappointment on their boards. The ones that are in black are the ones that still have not submitted, that they're still active until the end of September. And then of course the highlighted in yellow are just showing vacancies, mostly for alternate positions. And then those in purple are those that I've received applications for various boards that are not currently on a board today. They have interest in more than one, or they have interest in one, depending on the person. But this is what we've received so far. I have nothing to, as far as appoint, there's not a regular agenda item this evening to appoint or change anything on any of the boards. I just wanted to give you an update on where we are. So we've received 14 applications for reappointment, and then we've received 10 new applications for various boards from new citizens.
Becky, when do you anticipate us voting on these next city council?
It just depends on the board. So typically we try to give them to the advisory board for them to look at the applicants to see those that want to be reappointed or any new applicants. And then they make recommendations to council, and then council makes the final choice of who will be appointed to those boards. So sometimes it might go into October, maybe even November. It just kind of depends on when we can meet with the board.
You say the text in black are people that are coming up to the end of their terms and just haven't put in for reappointment.
Yeah, so like the first one, the construction board of adjustments, starts with Leslie and ends with Nathan. Those are my primary, they're on the board today, and they're all gonna expire date of September. That's not my entire board, but those are the ones that are gonna expire in September. And then,
the only one that's put in for reaction.
correct. She's put in for her reappointment. And then like with EDC, it stops at TJ. I got 3 right now that are up for reappointment at the end of September. And then beyond that are the purple that show those that have applied for appointment to those boards. So that's just kind of how it's set up. But again, like this is just those board members that expire at the end of September. There's still others on the board, of course, that make up the entire board members. And then towards the bottom of this kind of shows you a little explanation of each board, and then how many served, and then how long they are. Some boards are 2 years, some are 3. My airport board's 5 years. Just kind of depends. Any questions? Is that helpful?
Very helpful. Yes.
Number 6, discussion regarding Love Thy Neighbor event, October the 5th, 2024.
So this is just kind of letting you know what's coming. I'll have a more formal presentation at the next meeting. But this is just something to kind of give you a heads up that the Courtyard Square Association, along with Lampasas, we're just kind of putting together a Love Thy Neighbor Street Festival on the Courtyard Square on October 5th. It's going to start at 11 and end around 8 p.m. And we will have some vendors on the square. We're trying to promote and get those businesses from in town to come set up a little market, if you will, or a display of their products that they have. Trying to bring everybody together, not only with Courtyard, but also on Key and other businesses around town. So then we'll have music that'll start as of 3 o'clock. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
At this time, get a motion to adjourn the workshop session.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And I'd like to take 5 or 10 minutes break. This time we'll call a regular session to order. All rise.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be here tonight in this great place. We thank you for the opportunity to take care of some business for all of your people. We ask that you be with us as we discuss things, good communication, and good decisions be made. We're grateful for the recent rains, the green grass before fall. We ask as always that you be with us in safety, and in Jesus' name, till we meet again. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to you, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
All right. We've got a proclamation, or library card sign-up month proclamation. Whereas libraries and librarians play a critical role in the education and development of children. Whereas librarians are literacy experts, offering everything from preschool story hour to summer hour reading clubs that sustain school year learning. Whereas libraries provide a learning environment that fosters joyful exploration, encouraging students to research subjects that they are genuinely curious about. Whereas librarians create a welcoming and inclusive space for people of all backgrounds to learn together and engage with one another. Whereas librarians provide a variety of books and resources to serve everyone in the community, making knowledge and ideals available so that people have the freedom to choose what to read. Whereas a library card empowers all people to pursue their dreams, explore new passions and interests, and find their voice. Whereas libraries are constantly transforming to deliver new services that connect closely with community needs, even during a pandemic. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Herb Pierce, Mayor of Lampasas, proclaim September as Library Card Sign-Up Month in Lampasas, Texas, and encourage everyone to sign up for their own library card today. In witness whereof, I herewith set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Lampasas to be affixed on this 9th day of September 2024. Citizens comment. Any citizen who desires to address the city council on a matter not included on the agenda may do so at this time. The city council may not deliberate on items presented up underneath this agenda item, and there is none. Citizens comment. Any citizen that desires to address the city council on a matter that is included on the agenda may do so at this time. Minutes, discussion and possible action regarding approval of minutes of the joint City Council and Lampasas Economic Development meeting held on July the 15th, 2024. Discussion and possible action concerning the approval of minutes of regular meeting held on August 26, 2024.
I didn't see any changes on the first. I didn't see any changes on the LEDC combined workshop unless.
I have a question on that. Item 2.1, on June 24th, I was appointed a member of the LEDC, but I'm not listed. I'm listed as council, but I'm not listed on EDC or more agenda. I should be on both, as far as I know.
With that one correction. Recommend approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we go to discussion and possible actions concerning approval of minutes of the regular meetings held on August 26, 2024.
I didn't see any corrections this time. Recommend approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3.3, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of minutes of the special public hearing held on September the 3rd, 2024.
Same announcement. I didn't see any corrections at this time. Recommend approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda, discussion and possible action regarding the purchase and charge in excess of $4,000 from August 1st, 2024 to August 31st, 2024. Hold on, I gotta read it. That's where I get confused too. Discussion and possible action regarding the second reading of an ordinance amending Appendix A, Fee Schedule, Chapter 82, Utilities, Article 5, Section H, Water Rates, and Section K, Wastewater Rates of City of Lampasas Code of Ordinance, providing an increase in base rate.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
City Manager's Operational Report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a few brief items that go over that are included in your packet. Sulphur Creek, you've been undoubtedly aware of the fact that there is an online petition for swimming in Sulphur Creek. Just wanted to touch base on council on a couple of things. Is regardless of whether we've been presented or we know of the petition, you can still take that up, whether you have a list of names or whether you don't. The only thing that we would advise is that, for example, on park-related stuff, if you wanted that to be looked at by the park board, I'd encourage you to use those resources on the those appointed boards, and that could be anything from the golf board to the airport advisory board, etc. And if you want us to dig in a little deeper on anything, just please let me know, and we can assign appropriate staff to that end. Kendall Water Supply Corp. I did meet the general manager.
Before you move on from that, can we go ahead and ask a few things here?
Sure.
On the swimming in the creek, when, I've talked to a bunch of old timers that it used to be normal. When did we say no? What happened?
That was done by ordinance. I can't recite the date. This came up actually a few years ago. At that time, we knew that an ordinance had been passed at one time about not doing it, not allowing it.
Just my experience in talking with some folks that have been around a long time, they said back when there was swimming in the creek, we didn't have to clean it.
No.
I've never been around whenever that was.
And to that end, I mean, if you'd like us to get together a chronology or maybe issues that were brought up not only a couple of years ago, but in the past, if we can get our
I mean, I don't see a whole lot of liability issues. I mean.
Can I get to what I was going to say?
Yes.
Real quick.
Oh no, there's exposure. There's no question about it.
But we do have a comprehensive policy or insurance policy for liability at our assets, don't we?
The last item on your risk management policy is to have enough insurance to cover your exposure. So, correct.
I'd like to hear what the Parks Board has to say
Okay.
about the idea. Maybe. and I don't know, from what I've seen on there, I think since that's a public waterway, I think state law would probably trump our local ordinance. I think.
Arguably, yes.
Right. I mean, I guess there could be trespassing in any, depending if you're going in from the city property into, there's some issues there. But, I mean, personally, I kind of like to know if we can do it, like what we can do to folks who want that.
Sure. So I guess what I'm hearing is let's kick this apart board as well as do a little research on our end in terms of why do we have the authority, et cetera.
I think just do our due diligence.
You bet.
That's it.
We'd be happy to do that, and we'll report as we also serve it up to the park board as well. Good?
Yes, sir.
Kendall Water Supply Court, I did meet with the general manager last week, and the reason I did that is because I was about ready to push a send button, and I thought I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sit down face to face. And there were about 3 or 4 things that I really wanted to make sure that he understood that we expect relief from. One of that was just how they've been handling the emergency water supply. We feel like Central Texas is telling us one thing, Kentner is telling us another. Also want to make sure that they follow the very strict protocols within the emergency water agreement. The other thing that was not included, particularly on their July bill, was the credit for water that they indicated they would be providing us for flushing. And then we also noted that since basically we've been receiving non-compliant water since approximately mid-June, the expenses of our chemicals in order to treat the water coming in was about $22,000 more this year than it was last year. That's not an apples to apples comparison because there could be a difference in gallons, it could be a difference in water usage, etc. It could be a difference in the cost of chemicals. So if you want to get down to the precise impact, we can do that. But needless to say, we're spending more on that water coming in than we have been previously. I did indicate to the general manager that if you'd like to correct the bill, that'd be great, or in the alternative, we would be probably pursuing some sort of recovery.
I have a water related question?
Sure.
When you're finished. Or were you okay. Just now, I know that I haven't seen any boil notices in my area. Is the city itself is not under a boil notice in any way right now, correct?
I don't believe right now. We did have 2 main breaks last week, and I think we talked about some confusion that was created. We should have done a better job of notifying because there was several blocks downtown, and then there was also, I believe, another area, Sunrise. Right.
Okay, so there was a break in the downtown area because I happened to be at Eves this weekend and they said that there was a boil notice.
Correct.
And so I was looking to see if we had one since we're just right up the street and we didn't.
Correct.
So I was just curious.
Yeah, and I think what staff discussed was we need to do a better job of making sure that folks understand that if we define an area, we have to do that every time we issue that. It's similar to when you read the Killeen Daily Herald.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur Heights has this addresses on this street that were issued boil notice, and we need to reduce any confusion that somebody took a picture. Actually, the school district, Hannah Spring Elementary, was putting trash bag liners over their water fountains, and Van Sims told me that, and I said, I called Shane Jones. I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, those are down by 8:15." But basically, someone up there saw something on Facebook or breaking news, and then without checking, out of a sense of caution, wanted to go ahead and lock the school down for water when there wasn't any need to at that particular site.
I think you're in the right direction with the general manager to correct that bill, or it's time to go get those damages.
Yes, sir.
Was he able to reply when you were talking to him in person, or was it just a wait and see attitude?
I asked him to get back to me by the first part of this week. I guess I didn't see any real enthusiasm to solve the problem.
Okay.
So when we have to ask about the, because they said they were gonna discount us and they haven't.
That's correct.
So are we gonna have to go back? I mean, I don't know
What your options are, and we can discuss this with council, but what your options would be typically, and this is what we had to do in 2013, 2014, we paid a bill under protest because we still have to pay the bill. So we wouldn't jeopardize our contract. We paid a bill, paid it under protest, but then we saw damages legally. Or they could correct the bill.
And we could be okay, we wouldn't have to go back and
Right.
go through the whole lawsuit.
At this point, we are still holding July's bill, waiting for their response. If we don't get a response, then we'll probably end up paying under protest. And that was the advice of council back in 2014. Go ahead and pay it, but let them know that we have a claim or an amount that we're paying under protest. Good? Oh, Ford Lampasas got the great benefit of attending their meeting on August 30th. Approximately 25 individuals with 2 presentations, one by Liz Havlin, a career and technical education director. Talked about really some exciting things that are going on at the high school in terms of their offerings as well as their outreach. Boyce Cabinets also talked about Lampasas Conservancy and reviewed recent investigation on historical assets in East Lampasas and efforts to seek community support and funding. The group also just briefly touched on their 6 project panels, which include airport, creek trails, code enforcement, economic growth, downtown initiatives, and 580 Sports Park. A lot of things with the city stamp on that I think it's helpful for us to be a part of. Hostess House, I do want to let you know we did execute 2 change orders this past week for a net increase of $4,600. It wasn't an increase to the contract amount because we still have $106,000 left in our contract for contingencies. But just to let you know, it wasn't simply an increase. There were credits as well as additions on both change orders to get us to that. Change order 1 generally was eliminating the permitting fees, reduction in size of grease trap, and then also eliminating or replacing the copper and lightning protection. The primary addition to change order 1 was furring and rerouting of the mechanical lines to avoid structural members. Change 2 was a series of structural items, primarily deleting beams and then adding beams, elimination of specified columns. Additions included cost for replacing a warped column, upsizing columns, and other structural upgrades. And I think some of you may be aware of this, but initially we were bombarded by RFIs from this contractor. And our consultant and our city staff got together on this and felt like our position should be fairly straightforward and fairly firm. Here's the plan, here's the specification citation within your plan set and within your specifications, and get to work. And I think I'm pleased because Kimberly certainly thinks that we've maybe turned the corner on that activity, and we certainly appreciate their representation of us to the contractor. I think a lot of times design consultants try to be a problem solver as opposed to being the owner's representative, and I think this very instance they have been a representative for the city. Anyway, I think $4,600 and 2 change orders, particularly where one of them is structural related, and particularly with the amounts of credits versus additions, is not an unreasonable expectation at this point. I do have copies of those if you want to take a look at the change orders. Tax help, second year, the city's going to be hosting, we're going to let them use our building, but some volunteers coming in to do tax preparation during the filing season from approximately 9 to 1 on Tuesdays. And of course, those folks are people we know as community volunteers, Bob McCauley, Clay Harrington, who have both volunteered on multiple city boards. Hamilton EMS, and actually you've got an updated EMS. They did not have the Lampasas numbers, and I was hoping to get those Friday before publication, but I hadn't, but you've got the correct numbers at your dice. Lampasas calls 44% of the county volume, with an average response time of 4 minutes and 55 seconds. Transfers generated within the city of Lampasas accounted for 24% of the total calls. And I might take the opportunity here, Mayor, a little bit about the difference. That doesn't mean that the city is responsible for 70% of the ambulance calls. You have two distinct profit centers there. 911 typically does not make much money, if any. Transfers typically do make money. So we may say, hey, city, you're responsible for 75%. Well, we're also making money on 24% of that 75%. So I just wanted to make that clear. HB 3834, and I'm glad Monica's here to hear this, but we did turn in all our stuff. We are compliant in all of our cybersecurity training. I know it's training that council looks forward to doing every year, and we certainly appreciate that. Anniversaries, please recognize the following employees who began their Lampasas careers in September. Fidel Marua, 20 years. Christy Acevedo, 7 years. Thomas Kelly, 8 years. Bart Baker, 2 years. Sandy Irvin, 1 year. Garrett Bradley, 8 years. Steve Knowlton, 3 years. Chris Coronado, 2 years. Jody Cummings, the winner of the anniversary raffle, 32 years. Vicky Tower, 8 years. Monica Wright, 19 years. 1 more, so big 20. Trevor Johnstone, 2 years. Eliana Corcoran, 2 years. Carlos Rodriguez, 3. And Tanya Baines, 8 years. One other thing that is not included on your report that I just want to have a brief mention of is that Council Member Keel and I attended the county meeting this morning regarding rural transportation. Actually, Ryan was there for a little bit as well. They're looking at some changes in terms of service delivery. Now that particularly there's a break between rural and urban, we felt like it was important at the time for us to be associated with the 190 corridor. A lot of our folks here either work over there, health care over there, whatever it may be. But that does come with a cost. And I think if council is not opposed, we might invite some representatives from the HOP to come over and provide them, let them tell you about what their plans are, which I think makes a lot of sense to me, but it'd be good to hear from them.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the service is exactly what it is. It's a service. And I think we need to consider it. And also, he was willing, the gentleman, and gave me a card, so if y'all want to listen to what he has to say, they are going to expand it, and they are going to try to advertise it a little more than they already have. So.
Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, we'll move down to 7.1. Discussion and possible action regarding the first reading of an ordinance to approve tax rate for the city of Lampasas upon all property subject to taxation within the city of Lampasas, Texas for 2024 tax year for the use and support of municipal government of the city of Lampasas for the fiscal year beginning October the 1st, 2024 and ending September the 30th, 2025. Apportioning said levy amount of the various funds and items for which revenue must be raised, including providing a sinking fund for the retirement of the bonded debt of the city.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. This ordinance does officially adopt our tax rate for fiscal year 24-25. As previous, we had decided on the 34% tax rate, and that is what is in the budget.
I move that the property tax be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.34 cents, which is effectively a 9.76% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
All in favor? I'm sorry.
Councilmember Hager,
Aye.
Councilmember Prattis,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morris,
Aye.
Mayor Pierce,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Kane,
Aye.
Councilmember Keel.
Yes.
7.2, discussion and possible action concerning the first reading of an ordinance approving and adopting a budget for operating the municipal government of the city of Lampasas for the fiscal year beginning on October the 1st, 2024, ending on September the 30th, 2025, appropriating money for the various funds and purposes of such budget, including appropriations of money to pay interest and principal sinking fund requirements on all indebtedness, providing a severability clause, providing a repealer clause for the repeal of all ordinance, and appropriations in conflict with the provision of this ordinance and establishing an effective date.
Mayor and council members, this is the ordinance that will officially adopt the budget for the 24-25 fiscal year. Again, this is also a roll call vote.
Councilmember Hager,
Yay.
Councilmember Prattis,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morris,
Aye.
Mayor Pierce,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Kane,
Aye.
Councilmember Keel.
Yes.
7.3, discussion and possible action regarding ratifying property tax revenue increase reflecting in fiscal year 2024-2025.
The local government code does require us to ratify the tax rate after it is voted upon. This is also a roll call vote.
Let's do a motion first, please.
Can I get a motion?
Recommend approval to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the budget by record vote.
Second.
Councilmember Hager,
Aye.
Councilmember Prattis,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morris,
Aye.
Mayor Pierce,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Keel.
Yes.
And me.
Sorry. Councilmember Kane.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for all your work on budget. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
7.4, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of Lampasas Economic Development Corporation fiscal year 24-25 budget.
Mayor and council should have a copy of this at the dais as well as it was emailed out to you. I apologize. I got sidetracked Friday and did not get this to Becky. Just a couple of items I'd like to touch base on. Generally, it's a flat budget from previous year with the exception of some expense line increases. The revenue is primarily from three sources: sales tax receipts. Of the sales tax that the city receives, EDC receives about 1/6 of what the total receipts are. The other item that is revenue for the organization's interest, any interest earned off of our money, and then also any transfer from bond funds, similar to how you're considering funding some of the improvements at the rodeo arena, where we'll take that out of the separate fund. The revenue items are noted on page 2 of the handout. Again, sales tax, interest, and any transfer on page 3, any transfer if needed. We do budget some money as a transfer in the event we do want to have make some improvements that are qualified by the use of those bond funds. The expense lines are starting on page 4. We have increased advertising from projected year-end balance of $6,000 to $20,000. That the board felt like that was important, perhaps in did need to do a little bit more advertising for business park property as well as other items to promote our community. Just a other note, in case you're asking yourself, professional service, that's the EDC's audit and tax return. The $12,000 of expense, that's paid to the city for admin services. Travel and training was also increased. Actually, the budget amount wasn't increased, but the projected year end was on the order of $4,000. And particularly with the new staff person, I think the board wanted to maintain that. Economic development program, that's typically used for life safety programs, other grants, and even in some cases it has been used for incentives. And that went from $20,000 to $60,000. The bottom line for, the transfer to 22, 65,000, that's on page 5. That 65,000 is a budgeted number that represents 1/2 of the burdened employee's salary for the city. That's paid into 22 from the EDC. And then of course our debt runs about $204,000 per year. That's 2 payments per year, but the total is $204,000. The overall budget is a surplus of $80,000, and typically that might be used to either be put back into contingency, typically, or other improvements. This is also the same budget that we looked at in July.
You say on the transfer there at 65,000, is that for half of the EDC director?
Correct.
That's from the EDC.
Yeah, it's from the EDC to Fund 22 is the clearinghouse for that. So the city will you'll also see a similar transfer from the city into Fund 22, and that's where that salary is paid out of. We also, from time to time, we have kept some money in Fund 22, which isn't a normal operating budgeted item, but we have kept some money in Fund 22 in the event that we've used it to upsize piping on a developer pays for what they need, and the city says, no, we'd like to go from, instead of 8 inches, we'd like you to put in 12 inches, and sometimes we'll use that fund for that incremental improvement.
Well, you said on the under maintenance and economic development program going from 20 to 60,000. What was that 40,000 increase?
The 40,000 increase, I think it was the intention of the board to make sure that we had plenty of money in there. If we did more life safety grants, if we had more needs in terms of even incentives or things like that. But that was their intention. They felt like, hey, we're sitting on a reasonable surplus here. We need to make sure that we budget money for economic development purposes.
That would go to, just to clarify to everyone, to businesses coming into town or local businesses that were trying to do remodels and
Correct.
upgrade safety.
Correct, and I think there was a comment made, maybe from the July 15th meeting, that we need to do more to promote that life safety grant, which I think is a great program because it really, folks are already investing enough, and if we can help them out at least up to that amount, that $20,000 amount, certainly help. Councilman Pratt, did I miss anything?
No, sir. Just out of curiosity, do you know off the top of your head the total debt owed by the EDC currently?
Total debt? Yes. You have a bonds payable and a notes payable. The current principal interest, this is as of September 30th, 2023, which is our most recent audit, was $220,019. That's the principal, and then you also have a note payable, and that principal amount is $2,220,915. So you've got basically $2.5 million.
Thank you.
Anything else I can answer for y'all?
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and make a motion to approve the Lampasas Economic Development Corporation, fiscal year 24-25 budget as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and possible action regarding the donation of surplus 2010 Ford Crown Victoria to the Lampasas ISD Criminal Justice Program.
Mayor and council, we have an old wore-out police car. This will be the third one that the LHS program has asked that we donate to them. I can't tell you exactly what it would auction for, but I wouldn't think much, maybe around $1,000. By law, if we were to send this to auction, we would have to strip all the equipment out. Push bar, the cage, the plastic back seat, which would leave it without a back seat. We may or may not still have one around that we could put back in it. Take all the package off of it, the strapping and such. I'm gonna guess we probably have $1,000, $1,500 into that. If we give it to a reselling entity, non-retail, like another government, we've researched this, talked to the county attorney, we don't have to do all of that. We will take the markings off the outside of it. We can leave all the stuff in it. They'll use it for this program. Mr. Tatum, who runs the program at the school, retired highway patrolman, it's been very successful. This will be the third one. They take them to out-of-town UIL events. There'll be a LISD car. They'll own them, they'll insure it, they'll be ours at all anymore. They've made very good use of the last two, and I highly recommend that this not only is a good idea, but it probably saves us money.
Make a motion to deem the 2010 Crown Victoria surplus and allow donation of the vehicle to the Lampasas ISD Criminal Justice Program as allowed by state law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. 7.6, discussion and possible action regarding award of Western Street Culvert Replacement Project, KRPS Contractors LLC, in the amount of $338,000 and $18.40 for the base bid.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. That is correct. Staff recommends awarding to KRPS contractors. One thing I would note, under the procurement and funding statement, just for correction for the record, this is actually going to be, this project would be paid out of account 35 CARES Act solely, not partially, so I just want to make sure I missed that piece of text, so just to correct that. And I'll stand for any questions.
I move to award Western Street Culvert Replacement Project, lowest bidder, which was KRPS Contractors LLC, an amount of $338,018.40 for the base bid.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7.7, discussion and possible action to consider cost share opportunities for fencing alternatives to secure the rodeo arena facility at the 580 Sport Park to mitigate reoccurring maintenance due to vehicular traffic.
Move to approve funding an amount not to exceed $10,000 to cost share with the County of Lampasas Rodeo Association to secure the rodeo arena facility at the 580 Sports Park to mitigate reoccurring maintenance due to vehicular traffic.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.